This is the Voice Coach Podcast for all the tips and tricks on getting the most out of your speaking voice. I'm Nick Redman and I'll be sharing everything you need to know to keep your voice healthy, sounding great and working the way it should. If you're an actor, voiceover, speaker, presenter or podcaster, you're in the right place. Hopefully it'll be a wee bit of crack too. Let's get started. Testing 1 2 1 2. Oh dear. Hello. So today's plan is an episode entitled Voice Care for the festive party season. The irony, of course, is that I'm recording this at the tail end of a horrible cold. So I need some voice care for myself today. But look, this is one to prep you for the party season. I mean, we've all been there. It's party season, but it's not quite the time off for Christmas and you want to go to the party, but you've still got to show up or record or coach or present or, basically use your voice after going to the party because we're not off work yet. Now, look, I'm not the sort of person who's going to be all, don't go to the party and prioritize your work because let's be honest, you want to go to the party. And by that, I mean, I want to go to the party and still have a voice the day after. And this sort of comes on the back of a moment of reflection and honesty because last Christmas, I had a tiny wee cold coming on. It was around this time, now that I think about it. Anyway, I went to a social event. It was VO Social North voiceover Christmas party plus the voiceover career planner launch. And I got so excited and I talked to loads of people, which ordinarily is fine. But I also drank a lot of alcohol and I didn't hydrate properly and I was far too excited and the adrenaline was pumping and my technique wasn't great. And then I went straight to one of my husband's comedy gigs where I guffawed like a lunatic and then I had no voice for 9 days. 9 days. No voice at all. It got to the point where I was absolutely terrified that I'd done some genuine damage. Anyway, to add insult to injury, I lost a pretty hefty 4-figure voiceover gig, which at that time of the year, that was January paid for and my holiday and my time off paid for, which didn't help really because, the psychosomatic element to I was just angry with myself and I was frustrated that even though I knew all the right things to do to get myself back on track, none of it was working. And I was just gutted because the job was serious dollar and it needed it over Christmas, when you're self-employed and you're about to take 3 weeks off to be with your family and you need a break. Anyway, it was awful and I don't want that to happen to anybody else. So these are the tips that I should have done and I should have heeded before I went to that work party in the festive season. And honestly, I think that the true definition of being a professional is being able to balance your work-life situation and enjoy the times in whatever way you want to and indulge in whatever way you want to, but still know how to look after your voice and turn up the next day. So I shan't hear another word about it. You should be able to go to the party and work the next day, is my point. Here are some tips to help you keep your voice in tip-top shape while you party yourself into oblivion. Okay, number 1. And I'm going to have a drink because my voice is shonky today. Stay hydrated. And I know I say it all the time, but drink loads of water before you go to your party. Chase any alcoholic beverages that you treat yourself to with more water. And then when you get in at home, then have another pint of water. So water before, water during, and water after. The more fluid you can get in there to counteract any of the drying effects of alcohol or dry ice or smoke machines. I don't know what sort of places you hang out in. There's a lot of smoke machines in my life. Not sure why. Or, if you're a smoker, pause for dramatic effect. That's all environmental stuff and it all affects the hydration of your vocal folds. So just stay hydrated. And remember things like nebulizers, so a vocal mist or the Bowyer nebulizer that I've talked about before are really complementary when it comes to a little bit of extra hydration. I'm a huge fan of a hangover nebulize. Hands in the air, I'm always honest with you. And if I have too much booze, a nebulizer has pulled me out of a creaky voice hole every now and again. That's a weird phrase, creaky voice hole. All right, let's go with it. Okay, tip number 2 to keep your voice healthy during the festive season is try not to eat too late at night. Now, if you're anything like me when it comes to Christmas, you might be sneaking into the kitchen past the fridge every 5 minutes, and you might just pop your wee hand in there and have a cheeky wee sausage or a cheeky wee roast potato or a piece of pie every time you pass it. And sure, that's a big part of Christmas, not being able to keep your hands out of the fridge. But honestly, if you can keep your eating to before 6 p.m, it's definitely better from a reflux point of view. So if you're someone who suffers with reflux, whether it's silent reflux, i.e. laryngopharyngeal reflux, so that's the silent reflux that you might not realise you have, that does have a sort of nasty effect on the vocal folds sometimes. Or whether you're full-on heartburny indigestion kind of human, then do try and resist the urge to sneak away something out of the fridge every time you pass it if it's after 6 p.m. Maybe it's just me. I just love sticking my hand in and grabbing a cold roast potato. Anyway, that's enough about spuds. Tip number 3. Now, I know you're probably going to be like, hang on a second, I've got other things to do when I'm getting ready to go to the Christmas party. But honestly, do a wee vocal warm-up. Just even like a tiny one, like a couple of lip trills or some gentle, semi-occluded vocal tract glides, like a little glide on a v as in vegetable, or a v as in this. It's really going to help, a few cheeky wee shoulder rolls or neck stretches, maybe a spine roll down to fasten your fancy dancing shoes. But honestly, it'll really help when you're out there chatting to all your pals and getting festive and excited and singing Christmas carols or Mariah Carey, definitely louder than you probably should. If you want to be going into the booth the next morning to sound like yourself, then you need to do a wee warm-up before you go out. And maybe even a wee cool down after. And maybe, if you nip to the loo at some point during the evening, a cheeky wee reset in the cubicles. Just a wee tongue stretch or something while you're having a wee. Sure, grab a mate and bring them to the toilets and engage in a little communal lip trilling in the cubicle. What a way to bond. And finally, on a serious note, if you know you've got a big job coming up, this is me talking to myself in the past, do have a think about just adapting your conduct while you're out. So maybe don't sing Mariah Carey quite so loud. Maybe stay off the booze a wee bit. The fags, maybe, if you smoke. Stay away from the smoke machine. Do your 80s pyro grabs far away from the smoke. Just make sure that you're staying hydrated as much as you possibly can within the realms of what's going on, and that you're looking after yourself. And of course, the other thing is, if you do get ill and you do push it a wee bit, then be honest with your clients or whoever's expecting your recordings. It's been a long old year, and in fairness, in the run up to Christmas, I think people are getting pretty generous and understanding. We're only human, and humans deserve a boogie and a mulled wine and some brie. And that's the end of that. So, okay, in conclusion, stay hydrated. Do a wee warm-up before, a reset during, and a cool down after your shenanigans. Stop poking your hands in the fridge after 6 p.m. That one's probably mainly for me. Step away from the cold roast potatoes. But aside from that, have a nice time, because honestly, one of the best things you can do for your vocal health is switch off for a wee bit. So look, have a lovely festive season. There's one more ep coming for the end of this year, but then I'm going to be doing a wonderful set of masterclasses in the early part of January. So make sure you're on my newsletter, The Fold, to get all information on how to book onto that as soon as it's released. I'll shove a sign-up link in the show notes for this podcast, so have a look there if you're not on it already. It'll be 3-hour-long masterclasses over 3 days with live Q&As with me in a Zoom to give you a wee kick up the arse to get your voice care and your voice training started nicely for 2023. But that's it for now. I'm off to hydrate, nebulise, stretch my tongue and probably curl into a little ball until I feel better. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Voice Coach podcast. To get the most out of your voice, come on over to our free community on Facebook, The Voice and Accent Hub. See you in there.